Sometimes the stage talks to you, and this stage is saying the hills are alive with the sound of music. I don't think you could set a better stage. I sometimes think about the drumbeat of big ideas, and because I'm a DJ, the music is great, and the ideas come right with it. I think I will talk a little bit about success today, and I think it's elusive, and I think it's fleeting. And we sometimes talk about, I don't know if you have this expression, but to smell the roses. And I think you have had an incredible journey as a country. And I think that I always worry if someone takes too long to smell the roses. And I've found in my own life that doing the unexpected is really what defines me and creates defining moments. And when I think about these, when I look at our collective defining moments, I think it's really what creates momentum. I think it's what builds brands. I think it's what defines careers. And at some level, I think our collective defining moments can define a nation or a country. I'm a storyteller. And as an entrepreneur, in order to tell a story, what do you have to do? You have to move your mouth, and no question about it. You have to do something. I think one of my discoveries is that when you, as an entrepreneur, when you do is really what it comes down to. Then you have something to tell. And I always talk about, as an entrepreneur, you start alone. It's a lonely place. And we'll talk about my definition of an entrepreneur in a couple of minutes. But in that lonely place, I think you start alone, and I think as you go through a cycle, you finish alone. And I think we are in that state right now where we're not quite sure as an entrepreneur what to do next to create the next defining moment. I created the name of Monster. It was not popular at all when I started with this name. I had an opportunity to beat Richard Branson water skiing behind a blimp and set a world record. When I was in the water, before I was going to set that world record, I said, what am I doing with my life? When I think about who I am and how I define myself, I'm a founder and an entrepreneur. A founder is something that is fleeting. It only happens for a second. But you're always an entrepreneur for your whole life. I'm also proud to be a CEO. And as a CEO, as a chief executive officer, I stick with an idea and I see it through. I'm a builder. I think in particular, I'm proud of being a team builder and in doing the small things around my culture that create excitement for my employees. At my 1-year anniversary of my new company, I said to my employees, what do you want to do? They said, I don't know. Maybe we go bowling or we go out to a restaurant and have drinks. Our office is right on the ocean. I said, let's go jump in the ocean together. They said, no. I said, no, we are going to go jump in the ocean together. And it took me a few days and some leadership to convince my employees. And we all went and stood at the edge of a dock, knowing each other very well in awkward bathing suits and such, and jumped into the ocean together. I had the best meeting I've ever had in my life as we were drying off and back together as a team. I think you have a little bit of water around you here. Maybe you should all, as a country, go jump in the ocean. I think your water temperature is a couple degrees cooler than where I am. So I look at this. I started Monster, just a little bit of background, right? In December of 1993, as an idea. There were only 200 websites when I started working on this idea. Somebody said to me 3 months later, have you registered your name? I said, no, I don't know where you're supposed to register it. And so I ended up with the 454th.com in the world. And we're now in 36 countries. I think in the intro we talked about this. 140 million people have their CV on Monster or have had over the last period, short time. I retired in August '05 with what I call a 360-degree entrepreneurial experience. I was the founder, I was the president, I was the CEO, I was the chairman. In my last 3 years, I was chief monster. Now, if any of you have a title like chief monster, it's not a title that you can get taken away from you, right? And so why would I leave my company and leave the safety net and go and start something new? And I think it's because of that cycle. I got to the point where I didn't feel like I was making any impact at all. I was culturally connecting, but I was no longer able to contribute, and I had new ideas. I think if I look at this country in Iceland, I think you have done a 360-degree experience, but you do not lose your skills, and you do not lose your spirit and your power to change. It is very strong right now. I was hoping everyone would come back up in the front 2 rows, but only a few came back. So I'll have to keep convincing you in my presentation to get you to come down. I'm a huge believer in technology adoption, and how you move to new platforms. And I'll talk a little bit about that. My new company is called Eons. It means forever and ever. I have 2 companies. My other company is called Tributes. So forever and ever always does come to an end. And my idea with Tributes was to take the last standing classified section and to migrate it from the newspaper to online. As I was leaving my company Eons last night at about 8 o'clock, I was meeting with my team and setting a new direction for a new idea that we have. I have 14 employees in that company. So I went from 6,000 employees to 14. We're creating a new idea on the internet right now in Boston. It's absolutely no difference than you having 14 people at a conference table right here and thinking about a new idea that you're going to chase. So I want to talk to you about building brands and believing in markets. I saw a guy, his name is Peter Lynch. He ran the Magellan Fund at Fidelity, which was one of the biggest mutual funds in the United States. He's been retired for almost 10 years, but still has a vision that brings hundreds of people together. So about 3 months ago, I saw him speak, and he said, in modern time, we've had 11 recessions, and we've had 11 recoveries. We have a perfect record. It's about the best thing I have heard over the last 6 months, is that when you get rid of all the noise, we are on our way back. We are always on our way back. So when I'm thinking about building the Icelandic mission and vision and dream, I think you're hugely entrepreneurial. You just can't help but be. I was talking to one of your PR guys here yesterday afternoon, and we were mentioning the concept of just spell my name right, and everything else is great public relations. And we were talking about the tourism industry is actually up right now and strong because of the stories of Iceland. So I think that I would like to add the word incredible to your story. You have had an incredible story. And when I move that down the line a little bit, you've had an incredible banking crisis. Right? But the word incredible is still there. And so I think I'm challenging you to focus on the word incredible and let the banking crisis go, as we talked about, because it will go. Right? We have a perfect record of coming back again for another day. But the word incredible doesn't get attached to very many things, and I think it's attached to your country. Does this make sense to you? There's a poet. I think he's a poet. Thoreau. Do you know Thoreau? This is a guy that basically went to a clear lake like yours in a little town which is near where I live and wrote these words. Most men, he didn't write this next part, but I will. I'll include women. Most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Do you want to focus on the doom and gloom, or do we want to have some fun? Can I come off this podium and have a little fun with you? Yes? Sometimes for me that means walking down and coming out into you, but this way I just get to kind of bear down. So here I am.